Hi friends, this is Harsha ma'am over here and we are doing science as you already know. Which lesson we are going carry forwarding this now is force and laws of motion. Try to recall in our last lecture we did one particular Newton's law, the first law of motion that is also called as the law of inertia. What is the Newton's first law of motion? Newton's first law of motion is the typical Gujarati statement, જ્યાં સુધી તમે કોઈની સડી ના કરો ત્યાં સુધી તમારી કોઈ સડી ના કરે. That means that object at rest or in uniform motion will remain at rest or in uniform motion unless and until an unbalanced force acts on it. Coming to the Newton's second law of motion, let's have a look. We are doing physics. In that we are doing what? We are doing chapter 2. That is force and laws of motion. And in our today's lecture, we are going to do the Newton's second law of motion. For studying Newton's second law of motion, I am introducing a new term for you, that is this, momentum. Now, what is the meaning of this word momentum? Momentum actually means it is the product. Product means multiplication. When you were small, you were doing no word problems and in that product of two ages and that all. So, meaning of the word product is multiplication. So, momentum is defined as the product of mass and velocity. What is momentum defined as? It is defined as the product of mass and velocity. What is momentum defined as? Momentum is defined as the product of mass and velocity. What is mass denoted by? Mass is denoted by m. And what is velocity denoted by? It is denoted by v. Momentum is denoted by p. What is momentum denoted by? P. Mass is m. Velocity is v. Momentum is denoted by P, mass by m, velocity by v. So this is how the momentum is coming into existence. Momentum defined as product of mass and velocity denoted by P. Can you tell me the unit of it? Can you derive the unit of it? 30 seconds for you. In that 30 seconds, just try to derive the unit of momentum and WhatsApp to me right now. Because it's very easy. After 30 seconds, I will derive it for you. But then you have to apply your brain. What is the unit of mass, unit of velocity? Multiply both the units. What will you get? The unit of momentum. Quick, try out. Unit of momentum. Okay, the unit of momentum is momentum ka kilogram, velocity ka meter per second. So what will be the unit of momentum? Its unit will be, SI unit will be kilogram meter per second. This is how the momentum is defined. And now tell me, it will be which type of quantity? Scalar or vector? It is which quantity? Scalar or vector? Quick. It is a vector quantity. Why it is a vector quantity? Because velocity is a vector quantity. Mass is scalar, but scalar multiplied by vector. Answer will be vector. So, mass into velocity. Because velocity is vector quantity, momentum is going to be a vector quantity. So, this is the new term and whole of the Newton's second law of motion is depending on this word, which is momentum. Let's have a look at it. Newton's second law of motion. And Newton's second law of motion is described over here. The force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. The force that is exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. If I try to mathematically write it, do you remember the meaning of the word, the proportionality sign, that alpha like sign? Okay, in the numerical session, the last lecture of numerical, S proportional to U square. So meaning of the word proportional was explained. That means एक बढ़ेगा तो दूसरा भी बढ़ेगा. So over here, force is exerted on a body. That means that F is directly proportional to time rate division by time rate of change in momentum. Meaning of the word change always means final minus initial, and change is denoted by which particular Greek letter? Delta. So what is the meaning of the word delta over here? Delta, a Greek letter representing change. So whenever you want to write change, you can draw that triangle. It's not triangle, it's Greek letter, which is delta. First we will learn the student's second law of motion, then try to derive how force is ma, and then we'll see the practical life examples of Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. Learn ho gaya? I think yes. Okay. Force exerted on a body is directly proportional to what? Time rate of. Time means division by time. What? Change in momentum. So if I want to mathematically write it, it is F is proportional to delta P by T. If you write this much also, when Newton's law is asked, then you get half mark for it. Okay, F proportional to delta P by T. Then force is equals to ma. That means force is ma. Ma means force. We are going to derive F is equals to ma from F proportional to delta P by T. Be over here. Note this, you are having exactly 1 minute. Quickly note the Newton's second law of motion, and then we'll move for the further derivation. Quick, be quick. Then we'll move further. If you have not noted it, I think you have noted it. If not, then take the screenshot. Quick. Now, the derivation of f is equals to ma from f proportional to delta p by t. Let's move further. Let's have a look. F, force, is directly proportional to time rate of change in momentum. Here we are having an object of mass m. Okay, its initial velocity, it was going with some initial velocity u. Then we applied force. After that, what happened? Its final velocity, what it became? V. An object was going of mass m, was having some initial velocity u. Forces applied, its final velocity became what? V. An object with mass m had initial velocity u. Force got applied and its final velocity became v. Got it? Now what happens? Initial velocity u, final velocity v. So, can you tell me the initial momentum? Initial momentum of the object. Initial momentum is represented by P1, and what will be that equal to? Pi, I can write. Initial momentum, initial velocity is u. Mass is m. Momentum is mass into velocity. Initial momentum means mass into initial velocity, that is m into u. Because mass will remain constant. It will not happen like that, if just now I am weighing 60 kilogram, then after someone will apply force on me and it will become 40. No, it will not at all happen. And if it could happen, I would have tried it out. So next, final velocity. So final momentum, what will be final momentum? It will be Pf is equals to m into v. Initial momentum, mu. Final momentum, mv. Okay, so what is the change in momentum? Change in momentum is equal to final momentum minus initial momentum, that is mv minus mu. Change in momentum is final minus initial, mv minus mu. What is common over here? It is m in bracket v minus u. So what is the change in momentum? Delta p equal to m in bracket v minus u. Clear this much? Okay. Now let's move further. F proportional to delta p by t. What is delta p? It is this, m in bracket v minus u upon t. Okay. So because instead of delta p I can write m into v minus u by t. Yes or no? So from this I can state that F is proportional to m in bracket v minus u by t. Force is proportional to m into v minus u by t. Just think, what is this v minus u by t? You have done it fast. Try to recall. This m in bracket v minus u by t, what is this? Think, quick. V minus u by t is the acceleration of the object. So, from here, I can write F is proportional to m into a. Because v minus u by t is what? A. Acceleration, change in velocity upon time. So, Once you remove the proportionality sign, you add a constant k is equals to ma. Taking k is equals to 1, what do you have? You have F is equals to ma. So force is equal to mass into acceleration. Okay? Where did we start it from? We are having an object of mass m. Its initial velocity is u. Force is applied, final velocity became v. Initial momentum of the object pi, mu, final will be pf. Change in momentum is pf minus pi. That is mv minus mu. Take m common. What will you have? V minus u. So force is delta p by t. Instead of delta p, put m in v minus u by t. What's v minus u by t? It's a. So F proportional to ma. So all we have equal to k into ma. Take k as 1. What do you have? F is equals to ma. Force is equal to the product of mass and acceleration. You can also write this as definition of force. And अब से आपको force की definition पूछी जाए, then you have to write force is ma. That is, force is product of mass and acceleration. यही याद रखना है अभी. What is force equal to? Product of mass and acceleration. I hope it's clear. And quickly note this down so that I can teach you the content further. I hope it's clear. F proportional to delta p by t, that is external force that is acting on the object is directly proportional to the time rate of change in momentum. What is change in momentum? Final momentum minus initial momentum upon time. So F proportional to delta p by t. That is F proportional to mv minus mu by t. Take m common. F proportional to m in bracket v minus u by t. What's v minus u by t? A. So F proportional to ma. F is equals to kma. F is equals to, put k equal to 1, you will get F is equals to ma. Thank you. I hope it's clear now. This much only. Note it down quick. You're having exactly 2 minutes to note it. Be quick in noting. Okay? Last 1 minute. Means 30 to 40 seconds I'll give you. I hope that you have most of you might have noted. Classroom notes are very much essential. You know why? Because it will help you out when you are learning, revising. Then materials are such that they give you total depth knowledge. But classroom notes will definitely help you out. So assuming that if you have not done, then 2 seconds I'm waiting for you. If you have not noted, then take the screenshot. Let's move further. Okay. Now, once force, what is that equal to? Product of mass and acceleration. What is force equal to? Product of mass and acceleration. Now, when this, which unit is mass measured? Kilogram. In which unit is acceleration measured? Acceleration ka unit. Recall, quick. It's meter per second squared. So, the SI unit of force is kilogram meter per second, or in the memory of the scientist Newton, it's also Newton. When you are writing Newton, then do remember it's the capital N, because it is from the name of a scientist. The SI unit of force is Newton. Now we will see that how 1 Newton is equals to 10 raised to 5 dyne. We will see how is this coming. Okay, 1 Newton is equals to 10 raised to 5 dyne. Sometimes even in 2 marks this is coming. What is the SI unit of force? Force is mass into acceleration, that is kilogram meter per second square, and its SI unit is Newton. And we have to derive that 1 Newton is 10 raised to 5 dyne. What is dyne? It's the CGS unit. CGS means centimeter gram second unit. 1 Newton is equal to 10 raised to 5 dyne. Now, in 1 Newton means 1 kilogram meter per second square. Okay, it's like this. 1 Newton is 1 kilogram meter per second square. 1 kilogram, if I am converting into gram, it will be 1000 gram into, what is 1 meter equal to? 100 centimeter upon second square. What is kilogram equal to? 1000 gram. Meter equal to 100 centimeter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many zeros are there? 5 zeros. So 1 Newton is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gram centimeter per second square. And 1 Newton is equal to 10 raised to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gram centimeter per second square. This is dyne. So 1 Newton is 10 raised to 5 dyne. This is how we can derive 1 Newton. This is the derivation where dyne is the CGS unit. CGS matlab the mass is taken in gram, meter length is taken in centimeter. Centimeter gram second unit. So this is SI unit to CGS unit conversion of force. Instead of Newton, sometimes they are giving the content in dyne, in numericals. Please note it down. You are having 1 minute for it. Quick. Kindly be quick in noting it. I hope you have noted this, that is 1 Newton is equal to 10 raised to 5 dyne. Okay? So, हमने क्या किया अभी तक? What we have done up till now? We did the Newton's second law of motion. After doing the Newton's second law of motion, we derived how F is proportional to ma and F is equals to ma. The final definition of force, that is force is equal to product of mass and acceleration. After that, we discussed about how the CGS unit is linked with the SI unit, that is 1 Newton is equals to 10 raised to 5 dyne. So I hope that's clear. Now let's have a look at the examples of Newton's second law of motion. That means where Newton's second law of motion is used to us in our day-to-day life. So here are the examples of Newton's second law of motion. Okay, we have started about its derivation. We went through the concept of how F is depending on momentum, time, as well as the mass and acceleration, because F is equals to ma. This is what we derived right now. Now let's move further with Newton's second law examples. What are the examples of Newton's second law of motion? The very first one is the karate players what do? They blow their hand fast to break the brick. You might have seen when the pile of bricks is there and that is getting hitted, once they hit this pile of bricks, then what happens and how they are doing? Basically what happens is, if they hit it slowly, then as per F is directly proportional to delta P by T. As per Newton's second law of motion, more the time, less will be the force, and less the time, more will be the force. Okay, force is depending on time, but how? In the inverse relation. That means both are arranged with each other in this way, that if one will increase, another one will decrease. So more the time, less the force, less the time, more the force. This is one of the example on how the time will increase but the force will reduce. Okay, so as per the Newton's second law of motion, the karate players, they will blow their hand fast to break the brick. Why? Because of this reason. More the time, less the force. The same concepts the cricketers apply. You might have seen whenever a fielder is catching the ball. Okay, whenever the ball comes to them and they are catching it. Many times you might have seen that when they are catching, they put their hands down like this. Why? Because by increasing the time, they are decreasing the force. They are not holding it like this, are they? No. With time, they are taught that, so that this they are taught because whenever the ball is striking on their hand, there is a possibility they may get hurt because the ball is coming with a great force. Okay, getting hit by the batsman and then getting pulled by the gravity, it is having lots of force. So with that force, if it will fall on the hand, what will happen? Ultimately, more amount of force will get exerted if they are not increasing the time. So by increasing the time, what are they doing? They are reducing the force. You're trying to understand? Seat belts are provided. The only reason why seat belts are provided is at once when car is applying the brakes, there is a possibility that the person may fall down like this, because we have started as per the inertia of motion that when the moving body comes to rest, it will not be able to manage that change at once, change quickly, and because of it, people or those who are driving the car generally, they are generally leaning forward. Now, if the seat belts are provided, they will increase the time. Time gets increased, so what will happen? The force will be reduced. More the time, less the force. I hope you are getting what I want to say. More the time, less the force. Okay? So, this is about the Newton's second law of motion examples. I'll note it for you and then you have to note it. The second one which we discussed was the cricketers. They lower their hands while taking the catch. This is in the short and sweet language. I am writing it for you. Next, seat belts are provided in the cars. What is the reason? The reason is this: the Newton's second law of motion. What is the reason? The Newton's second law of motion. So this is how, these are few examples. One more example, whenever the athletes are jumping in the long jump, they are made to fall on the sand bed. Why? Because the sand is loose. So what will happen? Because it is loose, the person will fall, then they'll get less hurt. They are not keeping the marbles over there. Because over there, when they'll fall on the sand, the time will increase. And their body will not be get affected. Because it is a loose texture. So each and everywhere we are having physics, and this is what the role of physics is. The laws of motion. Okay? I'm giving you 1 minute time to note this. Be quick, note it quick. This is while taking the catch. You can also note that athletes are made to fall on the sand bed. What is the main concept in all of the three? It's this. F is proportional to delta P by T. More the time, less the force. And more the mass, more will be the force. Okay? That's all for Newton's second law. Now Newton's third law of motion. What is the Newton's third law of motion? Please be over here. The Newton's third law of motion states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. What does the Newton's third law of motion state? It states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This law is easy to learn more. The examples are more easy. Okay, and the topic that we did today, Newton's second law and third law, is helpful in the next lecture where we are going to derive the law of conservation of momentum. What does Newton's third law of motion state? It states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Learn it quick. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. How is this applicable now? Are we able to walk? How are we able to swim? All these things, how are we able to get up from the chair? All these things are answered by Newton's third law of motion. What is this third law now? Very simple example. When a person is swimming, you might have seen anyone swimming. How do they swim? They give the force to the water in the backward direction and the water pushes the body in the forward direction. What is happening? Water is getting pushed backward and that backward force is helping the body to move forward. You are getting what I am saying? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's because of this concept. Okay, a swimmer is able to swim just because when the swimmer is applying the force in the backward direction, okay, the water is shifting itself in the forward direction. Let's take one more example. How are we able to walk? When we are walking on the road, we know it's friction that is allowing us to walk. So over here, we are applying the force on the road. The road is applying the opposite force to us in the form of the friction. And this is how we are able to walk. When you are getting up from the chair, in order to get up, how you generally get up? You can quickly get up. No, you have to apply some force, either by your legs or by your hands. You apply the force on the chair in the opposite direction. Imagine a person with a gun in his or her hand. When the gun is fired, what happens? The bullet goes in one direction, while the person who is holding the gun gets the jerk in opposite direction. How is this possible? This is possible by Newton's third law of motion. Okay, so I'm noting all the three laws. Okay, all the few examples, the third law is noted over here. The examples are, you can give the explanation in the way I gave. Swimmer is able to swim. Second, a person is able to get up from a chair. Over here also, the Newton's third law is applicable. I am not writing the explanation because explanation is explained and I am assuming that you can write it in your own words. Just always remember one or two examples and try to write it in your own words. Never ever cram. Only understand in physics. There are some things that you need to cram, the formulas and the basic laws, that's enough. But don't cram the examples, Because any example, they will ask you, what will you do then? You have to be prepared, okay? Let's move further. The next one over here, a bullet getting fired from a gun. Or a gun getting fired. Then, next, a person is able to walk. Rocket launch. What happens when the rocket gets launched? When the rocket is getting launched, what happens? You might have seen that when it is on the launch pad, slowly the gases are coming out from the bottom. These gases which are coming out in the bottom direction, they give the force to the rocket in the upward direction. And this is how, while launching the rocket, the gases move in the downward direction while the rocket moves in upward direction. This is how, by Newton's third law of motion, the thing is clear. For one more thing about the Newton's third law of motion is that, remember that action and reaction always act on opposite bodies. Where do they act on? Opposite bodies. Remember this thing. Okay? Quickly note this down. Quick, 1 minute ma'am is giving you. Be quick in noting. Note down everything properly. I hope that you have noted it down. If not, then just take the screenshot or the print screen. So that's all for the content of the day. Try to recall what we did today. We did today Newton's second law of motion, its examples, its proof that F is proportional to delta P by T, and we derived F is equals to ma from it. After that, we discussed about the Newton's third law of motion. In our next particular session, we are going to discuss about the law of conservation of momentum. Okay? The whole of the derivation, and based on this particular lecture that we are attending today, I hope that you enjoyed this session, and assuming that you are doing your homework regularly, will depart today. That's all for the content of the day. Thank you and have a very good day all of you. Bye bye.